So we're going to talk about some centering techniques. What I would like to do is just go through the motions in the beginning, and then we'll talk through what they are. I've done some previous discussion about attacking the oncoming clay, what have you. To attach a ball of clay, first thing we're going to do is put a dull point on the end of the ball of clay, so when I smack it down, the air can get out. It's not too pointy of a point, so it folds over and traps air in there, but it's sort of a dull point. And we're going to smack the ball down in the center of the wheel. We're going to push with our mushroom control and pull with our grabber fingers. Our grabber fingers are going to be slightly bent, and we're going to have the sponge between the clay and our hands, so that the sponge is going to go like that. We're sort of holding it there inside the grabber. Our bent fingers are going to be nice and strong, and those are going to do our pull. Something to pay very close attention to when you're centering a ball of clay, make sure that your attack and your release are very well planned. Like a dancer, you have to come on to stage with presence, and you have to come off stage with grace. So we're going to push with our mushroom control hand and pull from our grabber, and the ball of clay's got nowhere to go but up. It comes up. We're going to reposition our hands and grab the wider part and push and pull. We're going to push with our mushroom control and pull with our grabber. And again, we're going to push and pull. Now we've got this funkiness going on here. I'm going to pull that out and fold it over. And I got my mushroom control to push that in. And we'll bring that down with the motion control a little bit. Now we want to send the ball of clay down. We're going to switch from our grabber to the karate chop. We're going to lay our mushroom control on the side of the ball of clay, rest the karate chop up against it, and push towards the center together with the mushroom control and the karate chop. If you'll notice, down at the bottom it's still a little uncentered. I'm going to move my mushroom control all the way down to the wheel head and leave my karate chop up at the top, and then slowly work the karate chop down onto the ball of clay, and you'll see how it becomes centered. I'm not finished centering, so I'm going to make sure I leave the top of it a dome. I'm going to come up again, pushing with the mushroom control, always at the attacking clay, my grabber, and I'm going to push and pull. Then I'm going to bring them up a little bit and push and pull. And we can bring them up a little bit and push and pull again. Then we're going to bring the karate chop over, rest it against the mushroom control, and we're going to gauge the mushroom control. Mushroom control is coming down to the bottom, and the karate chop brings the clay down to the mushroom control hand. And we have a centered ball of clay. Notice my elbow attached inside my thigh, so my force can be increased by simply moving my hips forward. And when I'm pulling, I'm keeping my arm parallel to my, I'd say the 12 o'clock line, if you go 12 o'clock, and I'm pulling back from there. So that is centering. And we get to move on to opening. Now that I'm centered, I get to decide how to shape my ball of clay. I'm thinking of doing a low, a wide bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out a little bit further and keep it nicely under control as much as I can. And then I'm going to go ahead and open. Now opening is something, I apologize. One of the things we wanted to talk about was release and attack. If I let go of the clay at any point, without thinking, you'll notice that it goes off. So if I'm pushing and then stop pushing, all of a sudden it goes off. So every time I let go of my ball of clay, I have to make sure I step back with grace and attack with respect. your moves. If you ever jump away, you're going to leave an uncentered portion of clay there. So always attack with respect and release gently. So now we're going to go for our opening. If your ball of clay is centered, you'll be able to rest your hand on it and it's not going to move around. So I can rest my hand on there and have the wheel moving. I want the wheel moving generally pretty fast. As far as the clock head goes, I'm going to push at, I'd say right here, which is probably 5:30, maybe 4:45. I'm not sure. And I'm not going to push directly on the center. If I push directly on the center, my finger's going to wiggle around as I go in. So I'm going to push below me, or below center, and over at 5:30. So I'm going to go down at that place, and you can see a little coil comes up, and I'm going to work just a little bit until that coil chops off, and then I'm going to push my fingers in there. Now, I call this the heavy metal move, because I'm going to go in like this, and that's the heavy metal move. Heavy metal! But my fingers are going to drop into that well, and I'm going to have my loaded sponge, loaded meaning full of water, resting on top of these fingers, so when I need more water, I can just put a little bit more pressure on this hand, and I have more water. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in with the heavy metal move, pushing down at 5:30, my pressure at 5:30, with relatively good speed until I think I have it deep enough. If I think I have it deep enough, I quickly get the water out of the hole. In general, you don't want to have water sitting in your pot so you can see the bottom. And then I'm going to take a needle and stab it all the way to the wheel head, and then put my finger down and touch the bottom, and then bring the two up together. And we shall see, I have a little more that I could go in. My bottom is almost twice as thick as I want it, but it's going to be a big bowl, so maybe we'll just bring it down a tiny bit. So, since I only need to come down a tiny bit more, I'm just going to go ahead and go in and start my opening. So we've done the well with the heavy metal move. We've dove in with 2 fingers, and we got another 2 fingers here, and we had our water available for diving in to make the well. Now we're going to do our opening, and again, probably around 5:30, close to 6 o'clock, we're going to pull and try and leave our fingers on the bottom of the pot and pull straight back. But I'm actually thinking of making a bowl, so I'm going to curve the bottom a little bit, and I'm going to come up so I have a little bit more clay to work with to get a curve into my bowl. So I'm going to put my heavy metal fingers in there, give myself a little bit of water, and I'm going to pull back with pretty good authority so that the pot, you can really see it moving the whole time, right? This should not be something that takes a long period of time. So I've come back and I've raised it up a little bit so I have a little bit of a curve, and now I'm going to push down and I'm going to compress the bottom of that curve. So when you compress the bottom of the curve, you want to stay on the right side while you're compressing the bottom. If you flip it, if you push on this side, now all of a sudden you're pushing at the clay, and here you're pulling at clay. Now this is where we switch from the centering, where we're always attacking the oncoming clay, to throwing, where we're always going to be working with the clay that's moving away from us, and we're going to be pulling. So now we compress the bottom and get as good a curve as we possibly can. And we are ready to start throwing a pot. Now, this was just an